Chris Gardner was a hard-working man who lived in San Francisco with his young son, Christopher. Chris wanted only one thing: a better life for his family. He worked as a salesman, selling expensive medical machines. He had invested almost all of his money into them, believing they would make him rich. But the machines were difficult to sell, and money became tighter every day. Bills started piling up. The rent was overdue. There was barely enough money for food. Chris's wife, Linda, was exhausted from their difficult life. She worked long hours and felt that their situation was never going to change. One day, Linda finally decided to leave. Chris was heartbroken, but he refused to give up. He stayed with his young son and promised himself that someday their lives would become better. Then Chris saw a man driving a beautiful sports car. He walked up to him and asked, "What do you do?" The man smiled and said, "I'm a stockbroker." Chris became curious. He realized that stockbrokers could earn a lot of money, and he decided that this was the career he wanted. But there was a problem. Chris didn't have money, connections, or experience. Still, he managed to get an opportunity to compete for an unpaid internship at a stock brokerage firm. 20 people were competing for just one permanent position. The internship lasted 6 months, and Chris wouldn't receive a salary during that time. For someone already struggling to survive, it seemed impossible. But Chris accepted the challenge. Every morning he arrived early. He worked harder than everyone else. He studied whenever he had free time. He made phone calls, met clients, and tried to learn everything he could. But while he was trying to build a career, his personal life was falling apart. Chris and his son were eventually forced out of their apartment. They had nowhere to go. Some nights they stayed in homeless shelters. Other nights, Chris stood in long lines just to find a place where he and his son could sleep. One night, Chris found himself sitting in a subway bathroom with his son. He locked the door because he had nowhere else to go. He had survived homelessness. He had protected his son. He had worked